Hi everybody, it's Surinder here from Midland Property Investments. We're at the Radisson Blu in Birmingham. Just finished the Central Birmingham PPN Network meeting. And with me, I've got Julian Maurice from Icon Living. Julian describes himself as a free spirit, and he has one mission in life, is to get rid of magnolia paint in properties. Hi Julian,
yes.
how are you
Hello,
doing?
I'm very well, very well.
Thanks for joining us. So as I just said, we just had a very enjoyable evening of networking. It was some great talk by Julian, and we'll touch on that a bit later on. We had a bit of fun earlier on, and so when I asked him, so how can I introduce you and introduce yourself as a free spirit? So Julian, can you just tell me a little bit background about yourself, because you had quite a varied background. Yes. So how did you get into property?
I went into a job centre.
Okay.
And there were two jobs advertised. There was one that was a circus tent director.
Wow, okay.
And another one which was an estate agent.
Wow, shoot.
So you asked me I'll give you a direct answer to the question. Okay?
Right.
I chose the estate agent, and I bullied the manager of the estate agent to give me a job. Okay,
right, okay.
And that was my start in property, and that was in 1997.
Oh wow, so you've been in property a fair bit of time?
Quite a long time.
Okay, right, okay.
For my sin.
And you've had various guises, I think, so where did you go from?
Well, I've done lots of different things, because when I said I was a free spirit, I'm a creative person. Half of my life I spent doing art and being a DJ. Right. The other half I've been in property, but I guess the creative side has always tried to come out in one way or another. Okay. But I've been an estate agent, I was a valuer, I was a lettings manager, I was a sourcing agent. Right. And then I renovated properties for quite some time for investors as a contractor. Okay. But I always had a bit of a creative edge, which is how I used to get so much work, and I never really had to look for work until the property market crashed. Okay, yeah. We all got to work a bit harder during the and I found out that I didn't like managing projects. Right. When it's hard, it's not as nice as it is when it's easy. Yeah. You know, I've looked at other ways of working in property, and what I'm doing now with the design side of things. Mm-hmm. I've always been focused on design. Okay. But it's better than managing projects. Right. So yeah. So you had a fantastic sort of varying career, but then there must have been a time when you think, hang about, because I'm an investor myself, and all my agents, they all advised me magnolia. So what was the time when you think, no, you're not going to put magnolia into your properties and into your investors' properties? Okay. That's a very good question. Right, okay. The only thing that I can, what I would say about that is, have you heard of the phrase USP? Yes. Unique selling point. Yeah. Okay. So if somebody is telling you to do the same as everybody else. Right. Okay. To me, that says do not have a USP. Oh, good point. So very good point. So for me, when I've looked, and this goes back to when I was sourcing property, but I learned even when I was an estate agent that a nicely presented property will sell faster. Okay. So obviously it doesn't take a genius to work out, if you make a property look nice, it's going to sell faster. Right. But when I was sourcing property for my clients, for me the priority was to get those properties let out as quickly as possible. Okay. Right. So I always employed a bit of interior design savvy or technique into the refurb. Right. And as a result, the properties let straight away. But basically all I'm doing is giving each property a unique selling point. Right. So for me, anyone that says do the same as everybody else doesn't understand the nature of USP. That is actually it's a cracking point, the way you put it, actually. Because majority of my properties are let by agents, and they always say, oh, everybody wants magnolia and things like that. So it's a good point. You're not unique anymore. Yeah, but I've had, but that's the only thing they know. They're letting agents. Yes. They're not designers. Right. They're probably not investors, and they're probably not landlords. No. So they don't really know different. Right. Okay. When it comes to branding, if you said to them, if you went to a branding expert and they said, how should we brand our shop? And you say, well, you see all those shops down the road that have got that brand. Yeah. Just do the same brand. Right. What are you going to say? You can say that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Right. So from a design perspective, they don't know what they're talking about. So Yeah, if you want to listen to them, but I've done plenty of projects where I've had
guilty, by the way.
So, well, that's fine. But I've done lots of projects where my client has been the investor.
Yeah.
And the client has come to me and said, Julian, how shall I refurbish this house? And I've gone out and told them about colours, etc. The estate agents walked in and gone, paint it all magnolia. And then I've had to have a big argument with the guy, trying to persuade him not to.
Yeah.
I've persuaded him not to. I've done the flat how I would have done it, which is just pretty much the same way, but just not using, magnolia and just focusing a bit on detail. The agents walked in after I've done the job and gone, wow, this is the most amazing property we've ever been into. Yeah. It's the best one we've ever seen. And all I've done is not done what they've said to do.
Yeah, because I mean, so I see just earlier on, sort of Julian made a presentation and we talked about numbers, how it can actually affect the bottom line in profits, and we were actually amazed. So generally, just very quickly for the audience, if you take a standard, let's call them standard, and looking at your property, I would call them boutique. Would that be fair? Would that be a fair phrase? Yeah. Sort of, and we're talking about the same property, identical in in the same street, could be even. Yeah.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah. And can I just preempt you on an example? I'll give you a good example of this. Okay. Yeah. I once got a referral from a letting agent in Leeds from a guy that owned a single let, that he was having problems getting a tenant, and they said, let's pass you this landlord because he wants to ask you what he thinks. So the guy calls me up and he goes, Julian, I really want to make top rent from this flat. Right. And I said, well, how much are you getting at the moment? And he said, well, at the moment it's not tenanted. Yeah. So I said, well, how long has it not been tenanted for? He said, 6 months. Huge. So I said, really, the object of the exercise is not to get you maximum rent, but to actually get you a tenant. Yeah. So I went in, did him a spec. Yeah. Okay. And I said, £2,000 will get you the flat totally redone, and you'll never have a problem finding a tenant, and you'll get the maximum rent. Yeah. He said, Julian, really serious. I was only thinking of spending about 350 quid. Yeah. Okay? Because he didn't see the value in it. Yeah. 6 months later, he called me and said, Julian, listen, you know that quote you did, can you do anything on the price? I said, if you've still not found a tenant. Yeah. He's gone, no. I said, well, how much have you lost?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I've had people that have got flats in Swiss Cottage in London who are having problems renting out because of competition.
Yes, there's a lot of competition out there.
Just an empty room, and you go, well, and I made the point about photography. Yeah. Well, how many people do make nice photographs of their properties, and they've gone through all that hell to get it,
buying it, refurb, making from a single to a HMO, but the amount of cost it does.
It's just product branding. It's just getting a product and marketing that product to its maximum potential. Yeah. Not taking nice photographs. Yeah. Not dressing it, packaging it nicely. Yeah. Means you're going to lose money. So that's the only point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, because we're sitting in the audience and I was thinking, shoot, I don't do that. Okay, I don't do that. My photographs are taken on my camera as well. And I must admit, I've got a property which is in central Birmingham, which is going to come up for rent. And I was thinking all those ideas. And we'll talk about what you've got some workshops coming up as well. We'll talk about it a bit later on. If you just go back, I know it's just for the audience. Say you got standard property and a boutique property, which I know I saw some of the examples, fantastic examples. Mm-hmm. Generally, what kind of percentage extra, would we say profit or return?
Well, you've got to look at this in several ways. Yes. Okay, and when I showed the photographs, I showed you photographs of average product. Yeah. And it's not just about how much more rent you can make. It's more, but let's just look at it from that perspective. And I showed people a picture of an average room, and then I showed a picture of a nice room. Yeah. And I said to them, well, how much faster would it rent? Yeah. How much more money would it make? Yeah. But what's the difference in cost between the two? Yeah. There's very little difference in cost between making a room look nice and having it not looking nice. Right. But when we looked at the numbers, actually just putting an extra £10 per week on a room, when you've got 5 bedrooms and you do that to all 5 bedrooms, you're adding the equivalent profit of a whole other bedroom. Yeah. So you're adding the profit of a bedroom, just £10.
It's amazing, really, the numbers, when we look at the numbers, and how you just using creativity and design.
But it's thinking about profit and not looking and saying, well, actually, you know what, I've done all this, but I'm not going to put a cushion, or I'm not going to paint it nice because it's only tenants. But then actually, by doing that, you could be upping your rent by £10 a week, and you could add the equivalent profit of another bedroom to that house. Or let's say photography, for example. I'm not going to get a photographer to go in because it's 300 quid.
Yeah.
Well, by putting crap photos into spare room, it could take you an extra month to rent that room. So how much profit or how much money are you losing by not getting nice photographs done? That's the point I'm trying to make. And people are investing in property and not looking at it as if it's a business.
Yeah.
They're looking at it and thinking, well, I've got, those are the numbers, but they don't understand that to get those numbers or to maximize those numbers, all you have to do is think of it as a product. Yeah. And, you know.
I mean, I think, you know, when again, you know, we've been taught you buy a property for that much, you spend that much on it, but nobody really talks about the final spec.
No, they don't.
Nobody talks about that. I think this is where maybe, you know, you're quite unique in that sense. So, I would talk to you a little about, I can see you're very passionate about this, yeah. So tell me, so where did the idea of Icon Living come in, and what does it do?
That's a really good question. Yeah. Okay, and it's nothing to do with, okay. I won a prize to see somebody's portfolio. When I walked into a meeting like this, I'd not been to many.
Okay.
And I walked in and I went for the week, I went for the Saturday, I walked in and I was absolutely horrified with what I saw. I couldn't believe people were being impressed by it.
Right.
So I actually went to the local meeting host and said, you've got to let me stand up. I just felt like I wanted to talk about it. So I did this presentation, he said, you're really good. Why don't you do another one? And I did another one and I really enjoyed doing the presentation. I loved it. I used to be a DJ, so to me it's a similar thing. I'm pleasing the crowd, I'm talking to these people. I loved it. But the problem is you just can't go around the country presenting for nothing.
Right, okay.
You've got to monetize it.
So
I thought, well, if I really enjoy doing this, how can I monetize it? Because if I don't monetize it, I can't continue doing it. So I created a book. A design book that I've been selling, and it's just been remarkable. I sell them online, and it literally replaced my income from doing refurbs.
Right.
So it's only come through wanting to monetize
your passion,
my passion for going out and doing this. That it's happened, but now I'm seeing results. So you know, I'm seeing the results coming through of people that have actually bought the product or done the training and they're posting, because I can see what they post them on Facebook or whatever, and I'm seeing people actually coming back to me going, well, look, not only have we let the property out, but we had a lot of fun. You know, we're really enjoying doing this.
So I think, you know, I want to talk about my background, but as property investors, sometimes you do feel.
Can I just stop you, okay? Because I don't like the phrase property investor. Because to me it's a business. So if you say I'm a property business owner, that's more real.
Let's go with that.
So because you're not, do you work in your business?
Well, you know,
or do you just buy them and somebody runs
I buy them and let somebody else do it, really, you know.
Completely hands off?
Not completely, you still got to manage the managers. That takes a bit of, you know, so you still got to manage the managers, make sure they're doing what they said they're going to do, make sure they're getting the tenants in, make sure they're doing the fixes, things like that.
So you are a bit hands on?
You're still a bit hands on, yes.
So it is a business then?
Yeah, but what the point I was trying to make was that sometimes you feel there's no creativity in it, but I think you could use this part to release some creativity.
It is a creative process, but I've done it so that non-creative people can do it.
Right,
So most of the people that I deal with are non-creative people. They'd be the first people to say, Julian, I know nothing about design. So I'm teaching people that have they wouldn't, it really doesn't enter onto their radar, but they've seen what I'm talking about and they've understood that actually we'd love to be able to do this because we know we can benefit from it.
But they don't know how to do it.
But they don't have any interest in it, but they understand the importance of it. So basically I've created a system whereby even somebody that really has no passion for design, all they have to do is do what I tell them to do, and they can be as creative as me. But then they're not creative.
So let's go back to, so I know that we talked about this, you know, you talked about it a bit about in your speech. So tell me a bit more about these workshops. How long for, where they're held?
Okay, I've tried doing them in different places. I get people, when are you going to do it in London? And then I do it in London, and they go, oh, I've got a mitzvah to go to or something, you know. So I just thought, you know, I'm going to do it in my backyard, not in my backyard, but where I live, because I have to cart a ton of stuff down to the thing. So I do it in Wetherby, which is near York.
Just
drive up the A1 to get there, and I basically take a day, and the day is split into 2 halves.
Right.
The first half is talking about the renovation process, basically getting people to understand the systems that they need to put in place to effectively work with contractors.
Right, so that's
because I've been a project manager for 15 years. I did the wealth dynamic thing.
Right, okay.
And it said the thing you shouldn't do is project management. Right. So I have developed systems that allow me to project manage without really having to get my head screwed up.
Can I just stop you there? So what you think, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, is that design actually starts even at the build phase, because I just thought you just throw the cushions together afterwards.
Yeah, okay. It's not. If you really want to add value to a property,
so you've got to think of it well before that. Okay.
Well, not only that, but if you're not an effective project manager, if you don't know how to specify a project, you might. And you're very likely to go into a project and go over budget.
Right.
And so if you go over budget, you're not going to be thinking about design. Okay. You're going to be thinking about cutting costs.
That's right, yeah.
So,
that's guilty.
So the first thing that I do is teach people how to specify a job properly so that when they walk into the project, they know what all the costs are going to be.
Okay.
So that's the first part of it.
Right.
And they also have to teach them how to speak the language of a contractor. Because a lot of people will just do a big spreadsheet of jobs, and actually the contractor won't be able to read it.
Okay.
So I teach people how to, with no experience, in half a day, how to create instructions for contractors that they're going to understand.
Right. Okay.
So you can concentrate on